Well, it's another morning wake up. So just trying to think about what to do on Saturday. We don't have a whole lot of time to go until the convention. I've been bogged down with stuff. I don't have enough money to make a full convention run. I don't have enough money. The money I need to take me and the people that would need to go for minimum security, the logistics, the equipment, the computers, that kind of stuff that would need to go to be able to communicate with people. Don't have the cash to do that layout right now. There has to be the justification too. There has to be the justification. And at this point, a lot of the justification is only partial. I mean, it's talk to delegates and say, hey, look, by the way, don't do this. Here's why. Don't do this. Here's why. Here's all the legal baggage that Harris forgot to tell you about. It's all connected to Julie Sue. It's connected to the California AG's office. It's connected to Shirley Weber. Oh, yeah, Weber, right here, boom, election rigging. Yes. Julie Sue, boom, election rigging. Wham, Harris's stuff, Harris has got baggage that goes back many, many years. Doesn't want to prosecute people harassing a candidate. Flatly refuses to do it. This is, inexcusable type stuff. Because you got other stuff there where it's like, look, here's a candidate from another state comes through, gets harassed, and you're blacklisting them. Your state's blacklisting them. This is an multi-state item. Of course, it's the California AG's office problem. No doubt about that. Here, these officers, multiple agencies, these people committed serious crimes against the candidate. These people need to go to prison. And it's like they don't want to prosecute them. They don't want to deal with it. They're saying, well, deal with it individually. You just individually deal with every one of those individually in all those individual courts. I says that's the whole point of stopping the harassment. The whole point of stopping the harassment is so the candidate's not stuck going to 14 courts. That ends the whole campaign. This is ridiculous. It's a no-brainer. So we're suing the state. Control your people. You can't, it's ridiculous. No, I can sue. Shit. It's just so freaking. So what to do this morning? There's no money in it for me calling these certain people around, telling them, please don't do something stupid. By the way, I'm trying to get the processing going to get Harris thrown in prison. She's in dereliction of duty. And here's the thing, because she's in dereliction of duty, she was not protecting people's civil rights. She's in violation of her constitutional oath, which leads to attack on an archiver. That's a whole other, so you've got the entity, the way you break the entities down. One is that's the candidate. The other one is, this is a person's archiver. That's a completely different set of entities and sequences. So here I got an attorney say, yeah, look, that's completely separate. You can do that as a completely separate avenue. So you sit there and you're trying to work with material that's combined material and tell people and say, these are all the entities. And there's certain laws respective to certain entities. When you're an archiver, there's a whole bunch of different extra laws that apply. You do not attack archivers. You do not harass archivers. You do not aid and abet anybody in any way, any shape, any form respective to attacks on archives. You just don't do that. Your security clearance, gone. I'm still getting that processed. Kamala's security clearance, kiss that goodbye. That's gone. Yeah, so here we go, folks. We're going to have what? Another document violator. Wow, fantastic. So it's a horrible wake-up. It's another wake-up. It's a horrible wake-up. So do I tell you, the voters, and say, gee, did you know like the average voter has an IQ a little over 90? Statistically. So, it's... it's nothing personal. It's just, there's a lot of us that have much higher IQs, and we work very, very hard on material that other people can't understand. There's no disrespect there. It's just, some of us do stuff. We work very, very, very hard, and then we have people go, well, I don't care about that. Where does that leave some of us? Where does that leave many of us who have higher obligations, who work with high-end material, ultra-high ethics, and we got to get jobs done? Right now, we got all these situations in this country right now. We can't get enough processing done on foreign intervention. There's a huge resource problem. The government is lying about having a huge resource problem respective to justice. We've got the Hillary wasn't, you go to Hillary Clinton, she's not the only victim on that deal. I'm one of the victims too. Yeah, they came in and got my stuff. Yeah, and people, they're not equating this. They're like, who are you? Well, put it this way, why are the Russians coming in and spying on me? I have a higher IQ. I don't know how to tell this to other people. You're missing understanding that in many ways I'm a major player. Other people just don't understand where those areas are. As an archiver and an analyst, I'm a major player. Ergo, one of the reasons people keep attacking my archives. Why? Because I'm a threat. I'm a threat. And people aren't, why would we be interested in people that are coming under attack that would be a threat, that the enemy would think is a threat, whatever the enemy is? Strange how that works in our modern society. But yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Should I say I'm sick and tired of the phony beauty contest stuff, the memeism, the popularity contest? Give me a break. Everything can't be a Saturday or a Sunday barbecue. Bunch of people locked up in a party. And then what? I'm going to lose votes if I say, some of you, shame on you, need to be ashamed. We have some of us, we're working hard, and some of you were not giving us the time of day equating different things, and you want to run around and say you got to vote. The nation's in trouble. We got to have people that have some kind of grasp of the material. What are we supposed to do? Keep having candidates that run up and, oh, it's okay, we can run. Yeah, we can run. We can hold office. We can do the government. Yeah, we can do the White House. It's a job. It's like riding a bicycle. Anybody can do it. Comes with training wheels. Give me a break. there's a joke for all of you out there. Comes with training wheels. Yeah, that means, you've got all these departments basically. You've got these people, they've got 10, 20, 30, 40 years of experience. Collectively, tens of thousands of years of experience. And things work a certain way. And they've kind of sort of always worked a certain way. You got to be real creative if you're going to change how that works. But, so they're going to bring you up packets of documents and say, here we go. Here's the report. Here's the request. Here's the suggestion. This is here. This is what it is. Read, understand, or endorse, or something. So yeah. In other words, people go, well, I want to do something different. Well, you can't do that. This is a standardized obligation. It works this way. But I'm a new, pretty popular candidate. I can do memeism. And it's bad enough, there's like not enough of us to walk around and go right up to people and say, please, could you set the tea down or the punch down? Please just set it down. Can you just walk away from it for a little while? Can you take a weekend course in brains? You can't say anything. I can't say anything like you can't say anything like that. You're going to lose votes. You can't tell people the truth. They can't handle it. Welcome to your morning wake up. So yeah, here it is. You got all these thoughts in your head. You got all this stuff you got to work with. Every time you've got to sit there and figure out, how are you going to do a disclosure? How are you going to be nice and inventive to people? Just Harris comes out and she's running her economic campaign. They're comparing her economic campaign to Trump's economic campaign. It's a joke compared to mine. It's a joke. The stuff I've already run through AI modeling it's just mind-boggling. It's a joke. Here's a Band-Aid. And it's just, well, we're going to do this, this, and this, and add this stimulus, but she doesn't explain how she's adding this stimulus so people can buy new homes that have already been built, pre-stick, pre-done, for the most part. I saw a tiny mentioning about new home construction. But the basic program, the $25,000 she wants to ask, that adds up. So I forget which news channel had a piece on it. They were saying what that was, but on the numbers. But the thing is she wants to add $1.4 trillion in debt. When they're looking at it, she just has this justification. That's ridiculous. She wants to add all this money in debt. My entire program is supposed to pay off the entire national debt in 3.5 years. None of these people understand what the word stimulus actually means. They're not creative enough. They don't know enough about economics to be able to sit there and actually get it going. So yeah, hi, good morning again. This is my wake up. Does this help you seeing the candidate in this state of trying to figure out how to sort brains in the morning? Which direction are we going to go? How are we going to try to work with people? Oh my goodness, we have to communicate with the voters, and most of them barely have an IQ over 90. That's a good IQ, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it. I've got a 240 IQ, and a lot of the people I work with are going to be 160 to 180, 190. So. And it's hard, everybody at that level, everybody wants to get paid. Yeah, everybody wants to get paid, And we have to sit down and work with the ridiculousness of the situation with a lot of these things. It's just, Now keep in mind, a lot of different people you work with, they've got some form of a disability. Why? Because that's why they're available. Different people working like they're motivated for different reasons. They're not necessarily a total greed-based item, I guess that means welcome to the Democratic Party, right? Yeah, so not to give a bad hand slap on the cheek and to anybody in particular over that, but there's a certain reality. But so some people, some people are too generous. They give too much away. They give too much away. They have a reverse Christ complex. I believe that's what they were calling that. They give too much away. They don't keep enough necessary stuff for themselves. There's a lot of people in life. A lot of homeless people have that problem. I've had attorneys accuse me of having that problem myself, that I'm too nice, that I don't structure enough on my front end on the way I ended up running things. But then again, the reality is you sit down and go, look at my material. How do I structure more money on the front end on that? And they, it's okay, yeah, it's a nonprofit. Says, well, you could try doing some extra fundraisers. It says, well, yeah, but who wants this? It's a custom service. I run custom archiving. A lot of people look at the material involved. How many people are going to want to donate to that and say, yeah, I want to plan a trip around the museum this guy's planning to be able to go there and look at this stuff and understand this material, do bed and breakfast, and be able to do all this wonderful touch and be able to be one with the original tactile sensation of feeling a real book that's in mint condition, that's signed by the author. There's not that many people anymore that even collect books. You have, it's kind of sad. You've got a buffer zone, like a build-up zone. You got a bunch of bookstores that have really nice books, and they're actually worth quite a bit, but they have to go through that process of finding the person that wants to have that on board. Just one of those there things, So yeah, people look at my stuff and then they admit it, that some of that's harder to raise funds around that. And by the way, there's a extra page there. Look around, and guess what it says? It says, yeah, what happens is you start doing fundraising. You know what happens? You get people to donate you things. You end up having people donate you things, and you don't logistically have enough cash to intake it. It's not a joke. But this is the goodness out of everybody's heart. It's the goodness out of everybody's heart. They want to help. They really do. And I wouldn't want to fault anybody that walks up that has a genuine heart. I mean, just all that energy, so magnetic, just all that energy, it's incredible. It's like, we had a lot more people like that. We still have a lot more people in society like that. Just full of energy, wanted to help society, wanted to move people's lives forward. Used to be a lot more people like that. And we have a lot of memeism, a lot of the age of memeisms now, and we got all of these wonderful options, and people can't even understand what they are. So you run around and you cater to different people in different places and different groups, and they're different. And sooner or later, you're going to go cater to different people that are more interested in national security information. And sometimes you're going to go around and you're going to talk with people that are more industry related, And people think, oh, industry, they're going to have lots of money. There's no guarantee that people in industry are going to give you lots of money. And industry has endless paperwork. I don't think people understand how complicated industry paperwork is if they're going to give money politically. There's all kinds of paperwork and management to be able to do certain things. There's all these rules and regulations, and it's complex, but it's not complex. People are geniuses. It's not complex, but at first look, you could look at a lot of that paperwork and say, why do you have to do all of that paperwork? But and somebody else says, well, yeah, it's just standard ethics and regulations and whatnot. So how do you convince the voters, Apparently, I've been informed I'm not allowed to hire cave people to run around and use clubs on voters. Yes, we're not allowed to use clubs on voters and drag them over to the smart device. We'll just put them in the smart machine, and we'll give them more brains. So meanwhile, you have a lot of voters that are making huge mistakes. The huge mistakes are they're believing these people running around telling them something. Yeah, they tell them something. You just believe it. Look at politics. Please, just look at it. Look at these people running around spouting stuff out of their mouth, and people believe them. You have. I mean, what a job. I mean, it's like has the media hired like 3 or 4 or 5 more times people in the fact checking area? I mean, that can get intensive sometimes. Just it's unbelievable, but. And then you have the non-disclosure reality, the factor that voters do not get. There's no guarantee that you, the voter, have actually had disclosure. Isn't that fun? It's a complicated, expensive process, and it's just not done. Different people, they have a strange idea of what disclosure is. A very strange idea about how disclosure works with a lot of stuff. And there's strange paperwork, and it doesn't necessarily conform to any actually real logic. You have a whole lot of things in campaigning that don't necessarily require the kind of money that some people would think would be involved. There's all kinds of different styles of marketing on different stuff that can be done, and you campaign in different ways, different sources. You offer different services. The part of the entire design sequence of part of my mobile archive system is designed based upon cumulative factors of knowledge and software management that is basically service performing, which means that, the bigger you build the archive, you get to the point you go, yeah, there's $100 million in software in the archive. And the particular software, the way it works, is it's not the kind of software that has an individual residual usage on it. It's you buy it, you own it, that's it. So there's like a whole bunch of older software companies that don't even exist anymore. And the software does things. So it's hooked into the archive. There's a way to utilize it, and part of the design management was setting up a way to use all this to give people access as needed to different types of capabilities. Of course, the interesting thing is that AI is the new wonder for a lot of stuff. AI just can do all kinds of different things. It's quite unique. But so now setting up AI proper to have the super genius, to have that AGI style genius to it, is what everybody wants. That's the big one. So some people want the original spark, the automatic, autonomous original spark. It obtains its own consciousness, it knows what to ask, and it just does things automatically. Rather than a task-generated type situation where it is going to follow instructions or a list of instructions. So there it is on the archive. The ability for people to tap into incredibly powerful base plans to improve their life. All kinds of subjects that way. And then the ability to deal with the interview situation, part of the setup between the performance question asking sequence to help people that are stuck, that have the mental block, and go through their life, and it's right there in front of them. In other words, if you're having a mind block, you go back to the list, and it's like this huge directory list, and you can click on it and go to the category, and you click on it, activate it, and there's there's other subdirectories, and you go through the subdirectories, which are different types of ideas or things that could be important, pertain to your life. And so once you're keying this in and you're going through and you're connected to the language model, you can then work with the language model and ask questions. Ask questions or phrase things. I need help with this. I would like to improve my life or enhance my life with this capability. How do I do that? There's all these wonderful, masterful ways to improve your life. If you think about education, seriously, if you're looking at education, what kind of education did you get? How much of your education pertains to real life success? I mean, this is like not a joke. You've got a lot of people that have looked at stuff and said, "What's wrong with this education?" They're spending all this time educating people on subject material that has no translative value. And you have people, both Democrats and Republicans, independents, all whatnot, that have said this. They've all said this. I've seen this happen for years. This is, why are they wasting our time with this education format, and it's expensive? What are they teaching me? How does this pertain to improving my wallet? How is this going to protect the rest of my financial life? And it's a great, huge travesty of justice. It makes virtually no sense. And this is part of what we're dealing with, and part of the archive system addresses the fact that deliberately people engineered education to not include certain features. There's reasons for that, by the way. A lot of people didn't necessarily. Ask yourself real quick, what's the reason that your education did not include financial enhancement? And you'll have a lot of people with a lot of different aspects. Some people don't believe that that's supposed to be part of people's educational life. That education is something of an enlightenment, and it has nothing to do with greed training. It has nothing to do with greed training. A lot of different viewpoints out there as to how these various things can work and whatnot, So it depends on your viewpoint. I'm supposed to say that, right? The attorney says I'm supposed to say that. But the reality is, are you being deceived? Have you been deceived into thinking that financial stability is not part of proper education? Is it separate? We have people that think that's a completely separate issue. Is it? 1750 colonial America. People were struggling with not only trying to survive, but to make the decision to say that we want to become our own country. Thrust right into the midst of the complexity. You're only going to effectively get worse if you advance 10 years. What people were thinking then, and the advancement between 1750 to 1760, what an advancement in mindsets. 1760 to 1770, where are we at there? Obviously, we're in the middle of Civil War, or revolution. Revolutionary War. Not Civil War, Revolutionary War. But actually, there was kind of sort of both in a way. So what do I say to you, the voter? What do I say to you to help awaken an understanding in something that all of us, in many ways, are still fighting with each and every day? We're fighting with concepts of success. We're fighting for justice. We're fighting for sanity. Our nation may not be sane. So, yeah, we got to try to have some kind of truth in this. But a lot of the reality is that the education that we hand out today, in many cases, is worthless. it's a huge waste of your time. 13 years, K through 12, all over the country. Los Angeles, K through 12, $494,000 spent. That's a statistical average. It's $34,000 to $38,000 a year per child. Yeah, you add that up. So it's $500,000. $500,000. So flip a coin, and one side says burger flipping. So what's life about? What is life's wonderment about? So well, maybe this would have been the day to just break out the off-road stuff and just do it. But yeah, so what did you get? The reality of what are you getting from your education? Compare that to 1750. This is a mark point I keep doing again and again and again. Is trying to get people compare it to 1750. The average 12 to 14-year-old was building their own house in 2 to 6 months. Basically the board foot equivalent of a 2-bedroom home. And yet you'll hear it's all through my stuff again and again and again. I'm trying to wake people up. It's like walking them up and shaking people. Shaking people says, look, you have to wake up. All these people, it's like they're not even aware. They're not awake. So what was taught back then, it was a natural instillment process of basic survival. A roof over your head. You can just, we'll go to America in 1750. We'll find a nice place to rent. You're joking, right? There's no landlords in America. So yeah, there were. Give me a break. There were no landlords in America in 1750. You needed a roof over your head. You made it with your own hands. We have a society now telling people that you're not allowed to build your own home. That's against the law. That's illegal. You would be violating the law. We have other people running around going, we need to take politicians like that and hang them from the nearest lamppost. Get them gone. We can't have that kind of rebellion among leadership against the Constitution of the United States, against the most basic no-brainer values of the Constitution. So what is the logic there? What is the logic to say that you have to have tough punishment? That our forefathers said, look, here's the rules. By the way, here, over here, and over here, you can't allow anybody to do any of these right here, or it's the death penalty. Okay, this was to protect the barriers, the walls, the foundation, the house that we call the Constitution of the United States, the foundation and the house that we call our nation. Because we have all these people that go into the concepts of modernism that is a fluidism that completely abandons the concept of understanding constitutionalism and the base framework of what it is and what it all stands for. In other words, they can't work within a framework understanding. They don't know how to do an addition to the side of the building and do it properly. They want to completely engineer something outside the box that, guess what, is bad. It's not a good thing, it's a bad thing. Maybe some people will engineer something outside of the box, but that would be a completely different structure, side structure, that might actually work. You go in it's a different part of the building. Wow, this is really different. This is interesting. We have people that have completely lost their brains. And if you don't have protections to stop people from doing things, because what's happening right now, you have people in government that come with people that have guns. They'll pull out a gun, they'll stick a gun in your face, and they will say, you are not allowed to build a roof over your head. Do you understand? Apparently they don't understand the lunacy of this all over the country, as you have people that live in daze. They live in a daze, they live in a shock, and they can't believe it. You have older people that are sitting there going, I can't believe what's happened in our society. The horror of what has happened in our society in the last 60 years. Mind-boggling. And you have people, they're just totally disoriented. And you have homeless people all over the country. They're just totally disoriented. They don't understand what's going on, and other people are like, well, they're a festation. You have to get rid of them. And a lot of these people are like, they've been getting thrown around for decades, and they don't understand how they keep getting a gun put in their face and getting robbed. And they're like upset. They're like, it's like these people don't understand. In government, they come up to them and say, you have to pay us this money, or else means gun in face, or they take it. This is reality. And there's a lot of people who are not understanding reality. And there are a lot of people who are saying, don't you understand? We're the people. We're in charge. We can take this thing over at any given time and grab those people and say, look, you're not a decent genie. Back into the bottle. Back into the bottle. Go to school again. Learn something else. So we have this reality that the base mathematical numbers have, you, the voters, outnumbering everybody. Except you, the voters, are a byproduct of mandatory education that's administered through government. Isn't this fascinating? So what's wrong with your thinking process? It was given to you by government. So let's talk about some of the possible roots, some of the possible rootism to corruption of what's wrong with our educational system, because it just might be you that I'm talking about. So you have people saying, let's teach everybody skills to be able to build and make their own stuff. And you have somebody step up and say, it's my business. That's my business. I do that. You can't teach people my business, because then I won't have a business. This is my business. You'd be intruding. The government cannot intrude upon my business. This is my business. Do you understand? This is my business. What are you doing? You're trying to steal my business? You can't steal my business. That's illegal. You're violating. So there's this misunderstanding of where things are. So things that were standard colonial rights end up falling into a black hole, so to speak. You have a great era of loss, 100 years of great loss, at the same time 100 years of great buildup, between 1750 to 1850. And then you have insanity and more greed and more fighting and more robbery in a land of plenty, in a land brimming with so many minerals and resources. It was mind-boggling. No real true organizational focus. You had madness, utter madness. You had people that believed that the way you do things is you don't pay these coloureds, and you make these coloureds work with you and be your slaves. And this is the reality in certain areas of the country where people do things. So they didn't understand how to make robotics back then and make their own slaves, so they just decided to interfere with other people's independent lives and do business with other people. And there's a cruelty to it, you know. Excuse me, where do you get your slaves, sir? Oh, I bought them right up over there. Oh, no, I was thinking the wholesale price. Oh, you'd have to go down over there to the ship, down to the docks, and you're going to talk with those guys. They're going to come in fresh. They got people go across the water, and they have colors they do business with. The colors they sell themselves. They go out and get them and sell themselves. They bring them in, you get them wholesale over there. So I said, okay, all right. So how is this useful? How is this information useful? Well, if I lived in 1750 and I wanted a wholesale price on a slave, I guess that would have been useful information, right? Other than the fact that today we can only wonder about what kind of mental illness do you have? Seriously. Because you had other people in other areas of the country that worked hard. They were settling land. They became stewards. And they would go down and post a note, or they would go down and they'd find somebody that needed some work, you know. And, you know, it's like, you know, oh, hey, here's a nice little immigrant kid. Do you speak English? I'm Abbas. Oh, great. Here, okay, look, this is what I want you to do. I need people that are good workers, that look like they might know something about how. Let me get down on my knees here and get face to face with this kid. I'm looking for people, you know, that walk a certain way. You know how you can see people walk a certain way, and some of them are more intelligent than others? I want somebody who can swing a hammer, use a saw, looks like they know something about farming, but got some skills. Maybe they can lay some brick. You understand? I want you to find them and bring them to me, and I'll give you more silver. Oh, yes, sir. So, yeah, now you have a system where someone's going to bring people to you. I hear you have work. Yeah, so you're going to say, look, here's the deal. This is what I want to do. I've got land. I'm progressively settling all the way out, turning things into farms. I'm making lumber. I'm making furniture. I got all these different things I'm doing. And I could retire tomorrow. I've made plenty. Look, you want a chance at life? You want a deal here? I got a program right here. The deal is you work with me for 4 years. You end up with a lump sum of cash. You end up with your own acreage, your own tools, a horse, a cow, chickens. You get a little bit of money every week. We'll do a contract. And you got family, fine. The kind of contract that nobody would hand out today, there wasn't a lot of people doing that particular contract. It was kind of a rare contract. And some people say, yeah, I'll do that, 4 years to the future, And, yeah, so right there too, yeah, I guarantee to help crop sharing, I guarantee to buy part of your crop. And we get to negotiate every 6 months. If you want to go independently, that's okay. Whatever, So, and I got other deals too you can work in on the time. So you got people want to hand out a deal and say it's a step up. You get a whole program. I've got it all refined. It's all engineered. There were people who did that. They figured out, they engineered things into a completely practical system. But there wasn't enough of them. That would have been the ultimate contract. Very few of those, by the way. Most of those contracts did not look as attractive as the one that I just talked about. Because the one I just told you about guaranteed you ownership of land, job, a business, guaranteed way to sell the crops that you were doing, somebody who had advanced handling knowledge, and if you were going to expand, wanted you as a business partner, Oh, your 4 years is up, George. Look, George, you've learned everything that I do. I want you to do the same thing. We just work the cuts. What do you think? What do you think? Says, well, we'll negotiate. Things change on the market. We do the deal. You get more land. You get people to help you. You just expand. You do the same thing I do, but I want to be your partner and help you do it better. You give me a little bit of cut and I'll take care of you. And the cut is that, you're around. You know how it works. You know how it works. You find the lead on something, and you get a cut because you found the lead. That means you made the sale. You know how it works. Let's talk about this, So you're going to have dinner, you're going to talk about it, and you're just going to keep expanding on people in life. You run into somebody else and they go, this is my 12th year. Your 12th year, what is it? You feel like retiring or something on us? You want to sell out or sell out part of it? You want to go another place? You want no more land? You want to go to another state? What do you want to do? And they're like, I'm thinking actually about a different area. Well, what you got? Well, I hear you got a little bit of a map there. This area here is really good. That looks interesting. You think about maybe talking with the other stewards about this? I mean, maybe we get together and we all chip in and make a new settlement out there. I mean, you want to retire though, right? Would you mind just being the guy that the eyes out there, the manager, the eyes? So, which way can you go with this? Which type of people would significantly, obviously, be different in offering the concept of negotiating and a fair cut, and an understanding that when people wanted to do something that they just wanted to do, that's their business, whatever it is. So, a respect about what it is to be human beings, where there's a universal respect about every portion of somebody's life. You don't abuse people. You don't abuse women. You have respect. You don't cheat people. So there are these diversities that existed. That in some ways they still exist. There are people that still do these various types of deals. There's a certain fairness to the way that certain people do business, certain ethics. Whether people see it or not, it's there still. It's there. The more remote you go, a lot of times the more you'll see it. But it is what it is. So if we're looking at what I just said as part of education to say all along the way you're encompassing something about an understanding that is going to repair your wallet. And a lot of people shake their head and say, I don't understand. That didn't sound anything like having culture or this or that or the other thing. Oh, did you miss coming down to some of the meetings? Yeah, we wanted to build something. We were thinking everybody'd chip in on it. Oh, you got no money. What do you mean you got no money? You got hands, don't you? Well, some of us got money and some of us got hands, Well, we want to build an entertainment thing over here, and so there's a lot of ways people would get together, and there's no way to hear the concept that people wouldn't necessarily have something to bring to the table. That would be a stupid question. You have nothing to bring to the table. Is that you? So I mean, the basic ethics and different things. It's like, excuse me, George, you can't beat your woman in front of us like that. It upsets us. Do you understand, George? Yeah, George, I'm not going to tell you again, George. If we catch you doing that again, we're going to take her away from you, George. You understand, George? We're going to give her a new life and set her up to do what she wants to do, and you won't see her no more, George. Does that make sense, George? When you look me in the eye and you look around at everybody else and they know that I'm talking to you and ain't no one on your side at this fucking moment and ain't no one going to tell you what I just told you ever again? You understand, George? No more? Not even once? So we had different ways that society could work, different ways policing could occur, different ways where you would force respect. In some areas. So what do you call a settlement area? Where do you want to live? What do you want to have with ethics in your world. So maybe you had different ideas. You wanted to do something different, and people go, "Nah, we don't want to do that." Hey, someone else says, "Hey, try the other end of town off over there. There's some people might like that." So they might like that. Yeah, they work on making a lot of really strange colored paints a lot. And go over and talk with some of them. So what you add to the city and your life is what can you bring to it? What do you want to invent? This was part of our society, and we have different hidden elements and people speaking and talking, and it's like it's forgotten. People don't understand. There are parts of our history that nobody went out of the way and said, "Oh, I have to run around and make notes on every little thing that every person does." People think because it's not written in somebody's notes, it didn't happen. Give me a break. So we had a lot of people in society that would be just doing things that they wanted to do. They built their abode, they built their house, they had things set up, they had people that they would work with. They'd go over here, this guy's got a furniture plant, whatever. They put their time in, they take their money, and then they go back and they got their little shop area. They do what they want. Maybe they're working on painting, or they're working on some new way to make a clock or something. People would do things that they wanted to do. They would get a certain amount of time in and get their life set up in a certain balance, and then they do things that they were interested in doing just to do them. And this is part of how we have creativity in our society, as we basically have various forms of elements involving people that are always doing something, creating something, and the understanding that there's always a place for something creative. So bringing a new renaissance in place was part of what I was trying to do with the mobile archive system, to be able to offer people chances with no limits, literally no limits to what it is you could possibly do. And this is what I want to do for the country, yet have a practical side to it. Understanding the difference between the front end and the back end. What does your front end cache need? What is your front end schedule that you need to adhere to? How long should you be forced into that schedule? What is fair? What else do you need in aspects that make sense? People obviously would deal things with certain stuff, certain ways. So what are we getting with education? Where has it gone wrong? How many people have exerted speciality, understanding that they feel that certain territory belongs to them? Or does it? Or have they? Or do they share? Because this is a very diverse country where lots of people are very generous and they do things differently. That's one thing that's bankable about the United States. At least it used to be. Is that if you're not clear that you like the way someone's doing something in one area, try another area. So this is kind of a bit of America. So how do we traverse through all of this with a nationalized plan of readdressing education in a new way? How do we salvage all the good parts of education and not throw them in the trash, while we open up the door into rediscovery of the original ways that we do things, to be able to embrace items that make complete sense, items that are going to move people forward financially faster than ever before? How do we embrace concepts that say, let's engineer a 5-year schedule to retirement? What is wrong with that philosophy? Let us move to max production and make that happen. We can do this. That's a standardization on the capitalization of what your own hands can do with a saw and a hammer and some nails and some boards. basic carpentry. So how do we accept the best of the best? How do we bring a form of practical renaissance back that's max production? Why not work efficiently in everything that we do? So yeah, there's nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong with a 5-year schedule of carpentry to retirement. My idea, of course, of a 5-year schedule of carpentry means you probably own 20, 30 houses. Easy. This is a max production item, and there's lots of ways to understand the physics of how the capitalization on this type of venture works. And many of the understandings deal with the very practical understanding that if you build a hard asset, the government is going to print money against it for balance of trade. So as your leader, I would be saying, yes, you have elected me, and I'm asking you, I'm getting some highly intelligent people together, and we want to do this. And here's the program. Boom. And this would be a good thing. Oh my goodness, help me make America great again. So the truth here is whether or not I have the in-depth understanding and the creativity that is necessary. Who of you is willing to get on board and share in max production, whatever that is? Because max production can be you as a painter. I'm serious. People might think I'm crazy. But yeah, no, this is serious. We have so many other ways to look at this, and the part of the reasoning of building the mobile archive system, which of course would have central points. There would be central points. That's the idea behind it. Was in the process of doing land choices, land location choices. There were other previous problems in the past. I don't want to talk about those at the moment, but I had to deal with disasters generally. Natural and man-made disasters, unfortunately. The reality that we have the ability literally to reward ourselves is something that seems to be forgotten. Literally. And it's as though people have whipped people into forgetting that you have the ability to reward yourself. This is an important item. The rescheduling of our modern city insanity situation is that we need to realize that many things have changed. Miniaturization, modernization, and relocation. So what was once the concept of exclusively manufacturing having the option of always being make the assembly line in the middle of the city, it works the best, is not an absolute anymore. And there are people that if you want to keep productivity going, you have to make the situation harmonious and make sense. And this is something that's liable to be a constant negotiation that may never end. And we need to embrace this and realize that we need to consider all these different aspects. Myself, my computations, working with items, talking to people personally, going from the basic tactile understanding of basic carpentry to any other facet area has all these interesting translative connectivity understandings. So max productivity is something that we need to hand back to ourselves. And we can do this if we believe. Yeah. Max productivity can have people working and retiring in 2 years, if that's what you want to do. I don't know that that's exactly the retirement that you would truly desire, but that's something we can do. Restoring justice is something we also must do. All of these facets that somehow to some people seem separate are interrelated into one centralized understanding that we need to grasp as an ongoing situation that does involve education. Now, many people are probably confused. You're not moving forward if you're not always learning. You're cheating yourself if you're not embracing everything into a connectivity to education. And education is something that you should always be taking with you, the same way you carry a wallet. So changing the nature of what we've done and what we must do, and revisit the past of what we did do, and how do we restore basic productivity, is a prerequisite if we don't want our society to perish. So if I try to get people in a series of stacked mental segments to constantly move with the good ideas, the fast ideas, the ones that are going to work continuously to help you grow your assets, that's a bit of a different situation. Most people would have to be in the mood for that. So if we paused for a moment and said, great, it's break time. Our first morning break. At that wake up, we now need to think about what it is we might need to do. Or do we need to think? Is everything overthought out? Maybe we just need to sit down and realize that the coffee has a certain smell to it, and maybe we want to pay a little more attention to that.